I said it was going to happen. Rishi Sunak was the candidate backed by big business, the World Economic Forum and the international elite. And now you see it. So I think it's about time I went into detail about why I hate this man so much. And I want it to get to a stage where him and his supporters are fully aware that we know what he actually wants. And we know all about his closet totalitarian fetish that he has. So that he knows he's being watched in case he tries to even implement some of this. Rishi Sunak's plan to widen the definition of extremism to include people who vilify Britain. I'm not a massive fan of people who vilify Britain and just hate everything about it, but I don't want them in prison. He may have backtracked on it, but he's a politician. Do you really trust him not to do it? This chap wanted to send people who vilify Britain to the de-radicalisation programme of Prevent, something we use for terrorists. He is a former Goldman Sachs banker. He's been at the forefront of both the CCP and the World Economic Forum to begin a transition into a cashless society through central banking digital currencies, which I covered 3 months ago in detail on both TikTok and YouTube. Just type in Count Daedalus Rishi Sunak onto YouTube and it should be the first result. But for those of you who are unaware of why digital cash is a terrible idea, let me make it simple for you. Unlike things like Bitcoin, which are decentralized with no one person, entity or government having control over its value, CBDCs are essentially a digital form of traditional flat currency. They're produced and issued by central banks and they're therefore ultimately a continuation of the current monetary system, except without the privacy protections inherent in cash or other hard forms of money. Governments will then be able to track every purchase you make. And as I included in the YouTube video, Bank of England to intervene on digital currency programming. A programmable digital currency, which is basically a social credit system through the back door. Oh, speaking of social credit systems, Rishi Sunak's family runs a China-linked World Economic Forum partner company pushing digital ID and social credit scores. So is it no wonder that before that pesky trust came in, he was literally endorsed by them back in July. And once enough people caught wind of this, he quickly tried to rebrand himself by saying that they're our biggest long-term threat. And just a friendly reminder for people, this is the man who is supposedly going to fix us. The same man who caused the very problem we are currently suffering. Too much money printing. No wonder he wants to up taxes and take more of our money. As for what I reckon his cabinet's going to be, I posted this on my Instagram last night. He will make Jeremy Hunt the Chancellor and Penny Mordaunt the Foreign Secretary. Because Mr. Hunt's wife presents a show on China's state-run TV that whitewashes the CCP's human rights abuses, and Penny Mordaunt is part of the WEF Young Global Leaders. They are essentially the international A-team. And I'm sure there's going to be someone that says we need a general election so we can vote Labour and get rid of these guys. To which my response would be, I haven't heard Labour criticise any of this. The closest I could come to it was Labour weren't exactly fond, at least some of them, weren't exactly fond of Rishi Sunak's plan to arrest people who vilify Britain. Imagine my shock. It's not like there isn't a faction in that party that actually does hate Britain and would be a victim of it. But they've got nothing to say about the CBDCs. They've got nothing to say about his ties to the WEF or his ties to the CCP. So as far as I'm concerned, they're probably just as complicit as he is. I would like a general election, but I do not want to see them get replaced by essentially the other side of the exact same coin. I'm fed up with this two-party system just endlessly swapping sides in the House of Commons because nothing ever changes when you swap them. Every time we swap between Conservative Labour, Conservative Labour, Conservative Labour, it always goes from bad to worse regardless of which side of the coin is facing the sun. And it's because they've got it in their heads now that all they need to do is basically say, vote for us because we're not those guys over there. They are complicit. They know that either way, their safe seats are going to remain safe. They're guaranteed a spot in the House of Commons until the end of time, until people break out of the mentality.